Ethan yawned. It had been a long night. The deliveries had taken him all over the suburbs, his legs aching from pedaling his electric bike, the motor gone, and the only horsepower was the power in his throbbing legs. The lockdown didn't stop people from being hungry, and Ethan was glad. Although some people could not work, was still earning decent money delivering food to all parts of the suburbs. The special food from the Italian diner, even more popular as the pandemic spread. The closed sign had been turned outward as Ethan waited for his last delivery. He waved at the other delivery drivers as they brought in their satchels and put them on the counter before checking out for the night. He looked at the clock on the wall. It was close to midnight, and he was glad to be finishing. He had 3 assignments over the weekend. Unfortunately, computer science didn't stop in the lockdown, and his lecturers were not giving him any slack even though he was working double shifts on the weekend to pay his way. He massaged his thighs, working the lactic acid out of them, ready for the last run of the night. His boss, Vince, was behind the counter, fussing around with the last order. Ethan's favorite order, always on Friday. And for the last 6 weeks, after the last guy had resigned and Ethan had gotten to take over the run, what a bonus. Before Deepak resigned, he had been the envy of every delivery driver in the restaurant. He had snared the best tipper on the run, on any run. Everyone wanted that delivery. They were the best tippers at the restaurant, and everyone wanted to deliver to that suburb. But even by the high standard of the suburb, these punters weren't up a notch. A guaranteed 100, straight up in hand, no tax. There was more than what he was making sometimes in an entire shift. And so, waiting back until midnight to deliver was not a problem. When Deepak left, I don't know if I'm saying this right, it's literally D-E-E-P-A-K. Depk? Deepk? Maybe it's Deepk. You know what, we'll just call him Deepk. And left, and ventured off to his last run on Friday because of his other work. How could he say no? He watched as Vince sweated over the order, making sure that everything was perfect, moving things from fridge into a large satchel, and then tapping to seal the order completely. You don't have to worry, Ethan thought. There's no way I'm gonna steal that order. But he knew that the other delivery drivers had been pinged and had been shown to the doors, and so he didn't mind that they sealed the delivery so he couldn't see it. At least he made sure that he kept his job. And besides, why would he open the seal and risk that a cushy tip every Friday? Vince handed over the order. Now, he said, you know the address. Got it, said Ethan. Order's been prepared. Leave it at the front. The cash tip will be in the usual place for you. No need to knock or ring. Just leave it and go. Ethan wasn't asking questions. An easy $100 was an easy $100. He lifted the heavy sloshing delivery, thanked Vince, and waved goodnight for the evening. He pulled to the door and walked out into the warm night, putting the order under the back of his bike and making sure it was strapped in. Once he was sure it was secure, he looked up at the full moon and glad for a bit of moonlight. He donned his reflective vest, turned on the bike light, and headed off into the night. He knew he had a ride ahead of him. The delivery place was on Sampson Street, over in Sunderland, the best part of town. Everyone wanted to live there, and only the best people did. As he rode along the dimly lit streets, occasional cars swerved around him, and he hugged the gutter close. keeping good time as the wheels clicked around. After an hour, or half an hour of solid pedaling, he made it to the outskirts of Sunderland and wended his way. Maybe that was supposed to be winded. Spelling error. Right here and left there along the familiar trail. Then he reached the cul-de-sac. As he coasted along, he marveled at the beautiful houses along the brightly lit street. Man, he thought, if I ever make it, this is where I want to live. The large house were brightly festooned with lights. The front yard's immaculate, grass and plants beautifully trimmed by gardeners and occupants. Watering fountains here, triple garages, Mercedes parked on the street as if no one cared they were going to be stolen. Hell, this was Sunderland. No one was going to come into Sunderland and steal a Mercedes. He rode along the number 30, making his way to the large front gate and pressing the button. The old wrought iron gate swung open and brightly lit LED path towards the stairs. He walked around the beautiful fountain that was in the courtyard. The statue of an angel crushing a serpent silhouetted against the house. He stopped for a moment to stretch, breathing in the fragrant scents of jasmine as it grew on the hedges surrounding the property. He walked towards the steps, intent on leaving the package, taking the tip and going straight home. The house lights were on. Every room was well lit. He walked up to the front door and placed the delivery in the receptacle that was there. Made sure that it was neat, and when he looked around for the tip, the usual envelope that was on the front door wasn't there. And he searched around the wide veranda. Checking to see whether it's fallen or the one had left it and moved it. He walked down the steps and around the garden, but there was no sign. Come on, he muttered. I'm not gonna run. I'm not riding all the way here for no tip. He skipped back to the front steps and looked at the doorbell. He knew Vince had told him not to ring it, but was sure that the generous owner would be mortified if they didn't give him his tip. One last look didn't uncover it. In high spirits on a warm summer evening, he rang the bell. He waited for a moment. Everything was quiet inside, so he rang the bell again. There were lights on, as if someone was home, but no one came to the door. He listened carefully for footsteps or any sound. He rang the doorbell again. Nothing. Maybe I'll just give it up and head out of here. $100? What am I gonna break my neck for $100? I'll just go home and get them to give it to me next time. But he needed that money now. And who knows, if next week they weren't gonna order something would go wrong and he missed out. So he walked around the veranda and to the side door and rapped on it. Rap, rap, rap. There was still silence inside. He walked further around into the dark reaches of the veranda, peering into the windows and seeing inside for the first time. The house was immaculate, inside and out. He could see the great Persian rugs, an ornate fan that was spinning in the middle of the room, large leather lounges festooned with pillows. There were tapestries on the wall, pricey artworks. Whoa, he thought. These people have to got some money. What the hell are they? Or where the hell are they? As he was peering through the window, he heard the front door open and take a deep breath. Scampered back around to the front of the house. There was a woman dressed in impeccable black suit with blood-red lipstick. Her skin was pale, her black eyes her black hair immaculately combed. "Hello," she said, smiling at him. "I see we have forgotten to leave your tip. Please accept my humble apologies." As she spoke, she opened the door and stepped out, lifting the package. "You have been a very good delivery driver, prompt and reliable. And you must be tired and thirsty. Such a long journey. Please come in. I'll fetch you some water and while I get your tip. They seem so friendly. And Ethan, filled with anticipation as he was thirsty, he followed her inside the house, and she closed the door behind him, carrying the delivery meal down to the kitchen table where there was a family waiting. A middle-aged man greeted him, his gray hair immaculately combed back, dressed in a tailored gray suit. Thank you so much for being our delivery driver. You are without a doubt the best delivery driver that we've ever had. Wouldn't you agree, Constance? Absolutely, Henry. And the immaculately dressed lady smiled again. Behind them, 3 teenage children laughed. He could see 2 girls and a boy, beautifully dressed, their skin pale as they sat at the table waiting their meal. Now, let me see, said the woman, opening the drawers in the kitchen. I put your tips somewhere here, in a special envelope. Would you care for some water? Asked the man, gliding to the sink and filling a large glass with ice and water before Ethan replied. Come, he said, smiling, his perfect white teeth gleaming. Join us and rest before your journey home. The man put on his, un momento. Where did I leave off? Dun, 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 dun. The man put his hand behind Ethan's back and guided him effortlessly to the table, ensuring he was comfortable before placing the glass in front of him. Please, drink. You must be thirsty. Ethan took a sip of the cool water. It was refreshing as he sipped. He realized how thirsty he had been, finishing half the glass before he set it down. The 3 children were smiling at him, watching his movements as he drank. Hello, he said to one of the girls. My name is Verity, and this is my sister Beth and my brother Andros. Pleased to meet you, replied Ethan. Their smiles broadened as he spoke, their pale skin and cat-like green eyes memorizing in the light. Ethan felt a sense of calm as they smiled at him. Oop. Behind them was a delivery bike, just like his, neatly parked in the corner. He wondered if they did deliveries as well. Tell us about yourself, said Beth. We'd like to get to know you. Not much to tell, said Ethan, feeling self-conscious. He started by giving them a few details, where he went to school, his interests, not wanting to give too much away. But before long, he was telling them everything about himself. He wanted to tell them, and he kept nothing from them. They listened intently, nodding and smiling as he spoke. As she talked, the man brought the meal over to the table and opened it. He lifted the packages out carefully, distributing them one by one to the children. Ethan watched as he took out the opaque, cylindrical containers. The youngest child, Andres, put a straw into his container and sucked hungrily, greedily. The man put his hand up. Wait until your mother joins us, please. Our guest has been accommodated. He stopped sucking on the straw and sat back. And as Ethan watched, a red liquid dribbled down his chin and landed on the table, and his sister leaned over, wiping it with her fingers before the younger sibling could, and then hungrily wiped the liquid off her lolling tongue. What? Wiping it with her finger before the younger sibling could get to it, and then hungrily wiping the liquid on her lolling tongue. The man frowned and smiled again, gleaming teeth more prominent to the dining room light. We don't want to offend our guest, do we? He has been so accommodating in giving his information so freely, so that we could be certain it was safe. You see, said the immaculately dressed lady, delivering special deliveries is a unique occupation. And your predecessor, Depek, was very good at his job, but he became greedy and he threatened us. We don't like being threatened, and so we had to deal with Deepak. The hair stood on the back of Ethan's neck. The damn problem is that during this pandemic everyone is at home, no one wandering at night. It's a little opportunity for us. The children giggled, and relying on store food supply is never satisfying for long, is it, children? The children giggled again, their eyes becoming cat-like, their fangs bared. Unfortunately, dealing with Deepak meant we tasted fresh blood, and once you've had fresh blood, it's very hard to settle for it. As Ethan realized, he felt a firm hand on his shoulder and he tried to stand, but couldn't move at all. His muscles paralyzed, he watched in horror as the three children stood one by one and crept towards him. The immaculately dressed woman moved closer. Ethan could feel her icy breath on the back of his neck. Now let's not crowd, children. There'll be plenty for everyone, darling. Would you like to go first? No, the man said. Please, precious, you take the first taste. Ethan's eyes widened as his head was pulled back, his neck exposed, and he felt the teeth nibble and then plunge into the warmth of the blood spurting onto his flesh. The last thing he heard was the children hissing and giggling as they crowded close to feed.